time is precisely 6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Delini Gunawardana and read by Ramesh Perez. The headlines. Early landslide warnings are issued to 9 districts. The Third Belt and Road Initiative Forum is commenced. The President meets his Vietnamese counterpart. A committee led by former Chief Justice is appointed to prepare proposals for electoral reforms. A new application consisting information on agriculture statistics is invented. In foreign news, the UN calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. In sports news, football, Lionel Messi scores twice for Argentina against Peru. Now the local news in detail. It is reported that heavy rains are falling in many areas of the island. The road from Kandapula to Ragala has been blocked due to a landslide. The Disaster Management Center of Nuwara informs the drivers and villagers to use alternative routes. Due to heavy showers, of the Mahaweli Reservoir have increased up to 46%, while the water level of the Kotmale Reservoir has increased up to 77%. Meanwhile, while the water level of the Victoria Reservoir is 44%, releasing water for agriculture is currently underway. However, the Director of Irrigation of the Anuradhapura district says that the water level of the tanks in the North Central Province still remains at a low level. Meanwhile, the NBRO has issued early landslide warnings to 9 districts, namely Badulla, Galle, Hambantota, Kegol, Matara, Ratnapura, Kalutara, Kandy and Nuwara Eliya. This will be effective till 3 p.m. tomorrow. The Third Belt and Road Initiative Forum commenced today under the auspices of Chinese President Xi Jinping, marking a significant milestone in international cooperation. During the conference, President Xi Jinping unveiled a set of comprehensive policies aligned with the Belt and Road Initiative, reflecting its commitment to fostering global partnerships. President Xi Jinping emphasized that the Belt and Road Initiative, founded on principles of peace, mutual support and friendship, serves as a contemporary rendition of the ancient Silk Road. He highlighted that the initiative's benefit extend beyond a single nation, benefiting many countries. The opening ceremony of the Third Belt and Road Initiative Forum took place at the esteemed Great Hall of the People in Beijing. It witnessed the participation of heads of state from approximately 20 nations and representatives from over 130 countries. In a show of solidarity, President Ranil Wickremesinghe attended the opening ceremony, where leaders from various states were accorded military honors and gathered for a group photograph alongside the Chinese president. President Wu Van Thong of Vietnam told President Ranil Wickremesinghe that Vietnam attaches importance to strengthening traditional friendship and multifaceted cooperation with Sri Lanka in order to take bilateral relations to new heights. Meeting on the sidelines of the ongoing Third Belt and Road Forum in Beijing, President Thong expressed his belief that under the leadership of President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Sri Lanka would make more socio-economic development achievements. The two presidents acknowledged the positive developments in the cooperative relations between Vietnam and Sri Lanka in recent times, especially in the fields of education training, religion, and people-to-people exchanges, saying the two sides are now completing legal procedures towards signing an agreement on cooperation and mutual support in customs. To revamp bilateral cooperation, Thuong proposed that the two sides increase cooperation in all fields, effectively deploying existing cooperation mechanisms and create conditions for their business to promote trade and investment cooperation. He also proposed that the two sides foster cooperation in potential fields such as education, training, tourism, culture, religion, and people-to-people exchanges, while considering opening direct flights and connecting Buddhist destinations between the two countries to develop spiritual tourism. The two leaders agreed to assign the foreign ministers of the two countries soon to convene a meeting of the Vietnam-Sri Lanka Joint Committee to enhance cooperation in all fields, including economy, trade, and investment. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has issued a Gazette notification appointing a 9-member committee headed by former Chief Justice Prasad Dep in order to prepare proposals for electoral reforms. Meanwhile, the relevant Gazette notification mentions that new laws have been introduced effecting changes to the election system and the mode of conducting elections of the country with the promulgation of the 1978 Constitution of Sri Lanka, and that such laws needed to be amended to suit current societal needs by conforming with principles of good governance and strengthening representative democracy. Furthermore, it has been mentioned in the Gazette notification that due to the registration of political parties without an actual need for the purpose of transfer to other parties for financial gains and other improper objectives, as well as certain other activities of political parties, the public trust in such political parties has eroded, and therefore there is a need to restore trust and accountability by strengthening the legal framework for registration and operation of political parties. Thereby, the member of the aforesaid commission have been authorized to empowered to hold all inquiries and make all other investigations into the relevant matters as may appear necessary. Meanwhile, the report pertaining to the relevant findings of the inquiries and investigations and the recommendations of the committee relating to the matter has been asked to be submitted within 6 months. The new GeoGovia application invented by the Department of Agrarian Department was launched today at the auditorium of the department. The Ministry of Agriculture, the Department of Agrarian Development, Arthur C. Clarke Centre and international water management institutions have worked in collaboration to invent this application, which consists of the information of the island, including the land utilization, agrarians, crops of each season and educational information regarding agriculture. This was invented under the program of digitization of the public bodies in order to provide expeditious services to the citizens. And that concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
On to the main news story. Issuing soft liquor licenses for tourist hotels and restaurants has been temporarily halted, the Excise Department says. Additional Commissioner General of the Excise Department, Kapila Kumarasinghe, stated that this measure was taken in compliance with a court order. Issuance of soft liquor licenses to hotels and restaurants registered with the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority kicked off based on a proposal made by the Tourism Ministry, and nearly 400 tourist establishments in the country have thus far been granted soft liquor licenses. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
In Watchlight this evening, Lanka Santosa has decided to slash the prices of 5 food items with effective from tomorrow. Accordingly, the prices of imported and local canned fish, green gram, sprats and coriander have been reduced. The revised price of an imported canned fish of 425 grams is 650 rupees, while a local canned fish is 545 rupees. A kilo of green gram costs 1,110 rupees. The revised price of a kilo of sprats is 1,090 rupees. The price of a kilo of coriander is 540 rupees. And that came to you in Watchlight. Moving on to the World News Bulletin, first the headlines. The UN calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. President Biden meets the Israeli premier. India aims to send astronaut to the moon by 2040. Now the world news in detail. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the Israel-Gaza war. Speaking in Beijing at a forum with both Chinese President Xi and Russian President Putin were in attendance, he said towards the end of his address, he said he felt he had to address what is happening in the Middle East. He emphasized the need for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire to ease the epic human suffering taking place, adding that too many lives and the fate of the entire region hanging in the balance. President Joe Biden arrived in Israel on Wednesday for one of the most complicated diplomatic trips of his presidency, an extraordinary high-stakes trip to a region gripped by violence in the aftermath of Hamas attacks and Israel's subsequent response. Biden's historic arrival in wartime Tel Aviv on Wednesday, the first trip to Israel by an American president during a time of war, marked his most forceful public show of support for Israel since the October 7th attacks by Hamas that left 1,400 of Israelis and dozens Americans dead. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, at least 3,000 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip since the fighting began. India says it aims to send an astronaut to the moon by 2040. The country's space goals also include plans for a space station by 2035. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced these ambitions on Tuesday and also asked scientists to work on missions to Venus and Mars. In August, India became the first country to land a spacecraft on the moon's south pole, and in September it launched a rocket to study the sun. Back to the headlines of the world news. The UN calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. President Biden meets the Israeli premier. India aims to send astronaut to the moon by 2040. And that concludes world news.
Development news.
Moving on to the development news, the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment signed a memorandum of understanding with IM Japan Institute of Japan recently to facilitate more special skilled workers, SSW, from Sri Lanka to Japan. Minister Manusha Nanakara expressed confidence that this collaboration will open doors for the skilled youth in caregiving, food processing, agriculture, offering them exciting employment opportunities. Minister Nanakara urged Sri Lankan youth who have passed the fourth stage of Japanese language proficiency test and SSW skill test to apply for these jobs. And that was development news. Moving on to sports news. Football. Lionel Messi became all-time top scorer in South American World Cup qualifying with both goals in Argentina's 2-0 win over Peru. Messi opened the scoring after 32 minutes and added a second with a spectacular finish moments later. He now has 31 goals in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers, surpassing Luis Suarez, age 29, Luis Suarez, who has scored 29 goals for Uruguay. Forward Messi missed Inter Miami's US Open Cup final defeat by Houston Dynamo last month because of injury and had not started a match for his club since the 21st of September. And that was sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Moving on to business news, Sri Lankan Airlines was crowned the leading international airline South Asia at the South Asian Travel Awards in Bangalore, India on 10th of October 2023. Sri Lankan further secured the title of leading airline class, business class at the award ceremony. Touted as the most prestigious travel industry awards in the region, this recognizes the most outstanding performance in South Asia's hospitality and travel industry annually based on the votes of industry professionals and passengers. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, Minister Mahinda Amaravira said that sour banana cultivation project and the TEGC mango project started in Jaffna under the Agriculture Ministry's Agriculture Sector Innovation Project have come very successful. Sour banana is grown in 200 acres and TEGC mango is planted on 500 acres in Jaffna at present. Along with the Rajangania sour banana project, about 10,000 kilograms of sour bananas are exported to the Dubai market once a week. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
And finally, moving on to the weather report, the Met Department predicts that the intertropical convergence zone, where winds from the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere converge, is affecting the island's weather. Due to its influence, the current rainy condition of the islands are expected to continue. Showers or thunder showers will occur at times over most parts of the island. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in the Uva, Sabaragamuwa, southern and central provinces. And that was the weather report. To end this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. Early landslide warnings are issued to 9 districts. The Third Belt and Road Initiative Forum is commenced. The President meets his Vietnamese counterpart. A committee led by the former Chief Justice is appointed to prepare proposals for electoral reforms. A new application consisting information on agriculture statistics is invented. In foreign news, the UN calls for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. And in sports, it's football. Lionel Messi scores twice for Argentina against Peru. And with that, we conclude this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And with the time coming up to 31 minutes past 6 o'clock, welcome to Radio Sri Lanka.